almost, it feels like every single category, every single scenario, all across all different technicalities. And so that's really what we pride ourselves on, is making sure that, one, not just do we know what the heck we're doing in advertising, but two, are we making sure that we bring that knowledge to like the very specific and strategic problems that are facing our brands.
100%. Yeah. I've known you for quite a bit in the space, and I'm excited to kind of, hear all your knowledge drops today. So I'm looking forward to that, Elizabeth. And just tell us your background and also where you are at right now.
Sure. So I'm currently joining this webinar from Mexico. I've been having a lot of experience with Amazon PPC. I first started my own Amazon brand, and then I pivoted to the agency model because I just fell in love with messing with the data, tinkering in the ad console. So I thought I will just bring this expertise to help other brands make sense out of this vast amount of data that Amazon is giving you, especially with new tools coming out and more functionality being available to sellers. We are mostly focused on scaling CPG brands, but I've been in the space for almost 4 years now. And yeah, the whole purpose of this webinar is just to educate the audience about how we need to interpret the data, because sometimes people look at vanity metrics that don't give you the holistic approach to scaling brands on Amazon. I just want to maybe clarify some points and just allow you to be a better data and analysis person.
Awesome. And you're currently in you're in Playa del Carmen, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Awesome. Okay, great. Well, I see a bunch of people coming here saying hello. Feel free to let us know where you're coming in from. It's always nice to see where everyone is coming in from for the webinar. The last intro here is myself, which is John Tilley, the founder of ZonGuru. We have a bunch of technology to help brands and agencies scale. And we have a big focus on helping agencies. A lot of agencies use our technology specifically around listing optimization and architecture and business analysis. We like to help and support our partners in the space and just give each other feedback and insights around how to help brands grow. And today, the way that we're going to do this is Elizabeth will go first. We'll follow Nogus, and then I'll finish. I actually changed a little bit of my topic for today. I'm going to be talking a little bit more around the metric of tacos and the challenges that we have with communication around tacos, and how that metric in itself is not enough to really lead the business objectives and the strategies of a brand. And I just want to kind of get on that soapbox a bit and talk a bit more about that, which I think will be useful for brands to understand our thinking around it, and clearly any agencies as well. I think it's important. So I'll cover that. So with that, we're going to get kicked off. We're going to Elizabeth, you can talk for 10 to 15 minutes. Nogus, you'll do the same. I'll finish. If anybody has questions, please ask as you go. We'll capture those questions. We're going to have a Q&A at the end, and hopefully we can even answer some questions as we go. And then we'll end at the end with a quick kind of round robin question for our speakers today. Just really what is your best key piece of advice for 2025, and how they can help grow brands. So we'll do that right at the end. But this should take an hour. We don't want to sit here for a whole bunch of time. I think we can be impactful with it and impart the knowledge and have a good conversation. So looking forward to it. Yes, good to see some questions coming here. We'll answer as we go. So Elizabeth, it is over to you. You've got the floor, and looking forward to hearing it.
Absolutely. I am excited. Okay, cool. There we go. Slides are up. Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about Amazon PPC product launches for 2025. And I appreciate the flexibility. Originally, I was like, okay, I got to clock this for 10 minutes. I practiced. I was like, I'm squeaking it at 11, but I got some really good tacticals from A to Z. So this is going to be how to really just accelerate products as quickly as possible on the platform, because really we've gone down the rabbit hole. We've read all the white papers trying to figure out, everyone wants to know what does the algorithm favor? And honestly, you can deep dive to your heart's content and you're going to walk away with, it's all about relevancy to the product and it's about conversion. So that is what this strategy is set to absolutely maximize from the get. So this is what we're going to be covering today. I'm going to talk about keyword research, and then we're going to talk about campaign setup. That's where most product launch strategies will stop. And then they'll say, oh, optimize or check it in a week or two. We're going to go beyond that. We're going to talk about initial optimizations, and then we're going to talk about what it looks like when you hit scale. And I also have a bonus section on troubleshooting. So thankfully we have time. We'll get to that as well. All right, cool. So we're going to talk about stage one, which is keyword research. Really what you're looking to do when you're doing any sort of keyword research, and ZonGuru is a great one for that. There's other tools on the market. You really are looking for the intersection between volume and relevancy. So the more specific, a lot of people say like, hey, focus on long tail keywords. The longer tail the keyword, typically the less shoppers are typing in that really long search. But the more specific the keyword is, the more likely the shopper is searching for your exact product. So what you're trying to do is your goal is to find the intersection between volume and relevancy. And a lot of people are like, what is relevancy? How do you gauge it? I will show you. Regardless of any cool keyword research tool out there, you really want to go and use search pages as part of your keyword analysis. So here, this is a fantastic illustration. We're assuming that this is our product. And if we go and look at keywords like blanket, this is what the search page looks like. Blanket is adult products here. You know, it's like the couch throw blankets. If we look at baby blanket, there's a lot of variety to the search page. Swaddles for newborn, which technically our item is a swaddle, you can see that there's a lot of these baby swaddler products. These are lower relevancy keywords because they don't exactly reflect our product on search. Our keyword high relevancy, you can see things like muslin swaddle blankets. Now this still has a good amount of search volume, 50,000 search volume, but it's very, very specific to our product. And that's what you're looking for when you go relevancy. So when you're doing your research, you want to choose at least 10 keywords that are highly relevant that have at least 1,000 to 2,000 search volume. The number 10 is very strategic. You can go a little bit more, you can go a little bit less. We're going to be doing very aggressive pushes. So we used to do say like, oh, let's pick 20 keywords, 50 keywords as launches. You might find that many keywords, but the problem is if you go aggressive after 50 keywords, your budget is going to be pretty exponential. So you do the less keywords you're aggressively going after, the lower your budgets will have to be. And now we'll talk about the setup. So honestly, that's kind of the easy part. There's a lot of data out there on the keyword research. Let's talk about the campaign setup. We are going to be creating sponsored product exact match single keyword campaigns. So if you have 10 keywords, you're going to end up with 10 different campaigns. You want to put in your products here, give it a good naming structure so you can easily search and find for these because we're going to be doing intense optimizations here. You want to choose, of course, manual targeting. It's going to be keyword targeting and only exact match. We're not mixing keywords. And again, one keyword. Here is the starting point. We're going to use a suggested bid plus 20 to 50 cents. We want to be competitive here. Now, this is just a starting bid. We're going to talk about optimizations and how we need to adjust this, but this is your starting point. We're going aggressive here. And the other thing you want to choose is fixed bidding. Now, when it comes to your daily budget, you want to start with a lower daily budget. This is very strategic so we can be confident in testing these aggressively without knowing that our budgets are going to be completely blown out. So you want to start with a budget of, say, somewhere between $10 or $15. You want a high enough budget to generate enough daily clicks to test. So an example would be if we know it's about 15 clicks on average to convert, 75-cent bid, we're looking at about $1.25. If we put a $15 budget here, we're padding our numbers. And again, this $15 budget is applying to 10 different campaigns. So you can imagine that stacks up, hence the limited number of keywords to start. All right. That's just your starting line. You've just gotten to the starting line. This is where the rubber meets the road. I'm going to show you a very intense strategy. Intense in if it's going to take a heck of a ton of work. I'm not going to BS you. However, if you want the results, you got to put in the effort. And so this is how you do it. So what you want to do is gain impressions as rapidly as possible. Right now, what we've observed over the last year or so, it's almost like pulling teeth to get Amazon to serve us impressions on new campaigns. And so a lot of times people are like, oh, I'll set it up, check it within a week or so, or maybe check it every so often. No, you want to check your account daily, maybe even twice a day. And what you're looking to do is you want to generate at least 1,000 impressions on every single one of those campaigns. So I would go into search, filter for whatever naming convention, look at all those campaigns. Where are you not really serving impressions? Go into those campaigns and you're going to raise your bids by 20 to 50 cents. Or if if the suggested bid has changed and you're below the suggested bid, you want to move up to the suggested bid. We're going to use aggressive bidding to force Amazon to serve our ads so we can start evaluating the shopper funnel, which is this. To figure out if a keyword works for you, you got to get impressions. That's the starting line. That's where we're doing those aggressive optimizations. Then from there, those impressions start to generate clicks and we'll generate orders from those. So what you want to do is you want to start tracking as soon as you start getting those impressions, and clicks, ideally, you want to look at your conversion rate to determine how many clicks on average typically it takes to generate an order. So your ad conversion rate is your orders divided by clicks. And then you take that number and you take 1 divided by your average conversion rate. And that gives you how many clicks on average does it take me to generate an order. So example is if your conversion rate is 6.7%, you can expect about 15 clicks per order. And from there, we're trying to define which of these keywords work for us and for our product. So we can start to figure that out once we get those impressions, which by the way, on that aggressive bidding strategy, that's just to serve the impressions. Once you've started to serve impressions, you can stop aggressively increasing bids and just watch for the data to roll in. And then you're watching for this. Where does that shopper funnel break down? Where am I getting a ton of impressions and a ton of clicks, but they're not translating to orders? Again, evaluating based on your data benchmarks. And from here, you can start reducing bids on non-converting keywords to 10 to 20% below your average cost per click. Or if you want to, you can pause or use a soft pause, which is like setting a very low bid. Our example would be 17 cents. So you're essentially pausing without pausing or setting the budgets to $1. So now that we know which keyword works for us, so again, we picked 10, we've done evaluation, shopper funnel. Then what we can do is we can start gradually increasing our budgets. Again, we already have aggressive keywords to improve impressions and get that shopper funnel working for us. Now we're just going to scale the funnel. So you can raise your budgets between $5 to $20. Maybe do that every other day. Again, if budgets are running out. And then you do want to avoid dramatic increases here to maintain control. Again, you're only scaling budgets on the campaigns that are performing. So here you can see we still have a $10 budget here, but here we've already gone up to a $750 a day budget because we validated that it's working really well for us. All right. That's the initial setup. Now let's talk about scale. So once you know where your products fit in the market, the keywords that convert well for you, then you can start launching the additional campaigns. So it's not necessarily like, oh, after 1 week, after 2 weeks, after 3 weeks. It's when do you have that data feedback that something's working? From here, you can start adding in these campaigns. So we have noticed that product targeting campaigns will have impact on ranking when used supplementally. So only for whatever of those 10 targets you're finding that you're ranking on and you have good performance on, you can actually target the top, say 1 to 5 organically ranked ASINs on those search pages, which can also impact your ranking. You can use broad match campaigns, so single keyword broad match campaigns, again, only for whichever of those 10 keywords is performing. So say 2 are performing launches in single keyword broads. That will help you start to scrape long tail variations of those keywords. We use dynamic bids down only here, and we would set it at a lower bid. We're not going aggressive with our starting bids. And then you can also launch lower bid auto campaigns. From here, you're still to gain that typical, okay, so now I'm getting more search terms that convert. I'm converting those into keywords, and you're really starting to scale out, again, from that very intense targeted launch strategy. So just that's going to put you on the path to success. There are some times where things go wrong. stuff doesn't go according to plan. So I'm going to give you some troubleshooting tips because we might try this. Trust me, this strategy is fire. However, you might try it and be like, it doesn't work. It works for a couple of reasons. One, you might have a low click-through rate. Now, we don't optimize for click-through rates because it's possible to have good ad performance and poor click-through rates. However, if you're seeing lower click-through rates, you probably want to check your main images. So check your main images and ensure the keywords you've chosen accurately describe your product, because sometimes you think something's relevant and then you go back and reevaluate it and you're like, it wasn't as targeted as I thought it was. The other one might be a low conversion rate. So it's possible if the shopper clicks, but they're not purchasing, and maybe out of all those 10, you're like, I just can't get a conversion. I would go through and look at improving your listings. So that is adding high quality images, better descriptions, clearer benefits. Pro tip here is look at the top ranked competitors in your space. What are they doing that I'm not doing? And how do I add that into my listing? The other one, you might have some market misalignment. There are some times where you try and come in with a higher priced item, or maybe it just doesn't capture that highly relevant market as much as you thought it would. Here, again, revisit your keywords to ensure they match the shopper intent. Or two, sometimes we will branch out if we can't get any of those highly relevant keywords to convert. Sometimes you can test broader or slightly different terms to see if you can like scrape longer tail. Here, you might want to touch phrase and broad to get like long tail variations of these, just to see like, is there any search terms that I can get my products to convert on? With that, again, it really comes down to focusing on relevancy, which this strategy does really well. You go super targeted, super aggressive, because it all hinges on the proper targeting. So make sure you are starting there and then working your way out. And not sure how long that was. Hopefully I hit it on the mark.
Perfect. Yeah, no, it was perfect. I think 12 minutes or so. Yeah, that's awesome. I think this idea of relevancy is so critical. And, at Zonguru, one of the things that we do is in the relevancy score. I think one thing that I wanted to mention there that I'm not sure if you covered there, but the relevancy, we also factor in competition and the strength of competition in that, right? Because search volume, relevancy, those are all critical, but how competitive that keyword is going to be critical. And we factor that into our ZG score, which is important. And then another thing is you were talking a lot about number of conversion rate and estimation of how many clicks are needed before you make a decision on that keyword. We actually have like a free calculator. I posted it here. Elizabeth, might be interesting for you to look at that as well, but it helps just helping to calculate based on statistical significance and help you predict how many clicks you need based on whatever conversion rate you're aiming for. So some cool tools that can help agencies and obviously sellers. So very cool. Yeah. Just any thoughts there?
Yeah, I think that segmenting your campaigns by a single keyword is a great strategy, because then you can ensure that the whole budget that is allocated towards that campaign is flowing to only a particular search term. And then it's really a good effective strategy to streamline where your budget is flowing, as opposed to having as other people sometimes follow the strategy, they cram too many keywords and then you don't really have any control over where the budget is going to be allocated. But when you're following such a precise and targeted approach, I think that it definitely makes sense, especially if you want to scale the most out of that available demand for the keyword. So yeah, that would be my thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was going to bring that up and have a little bit more of a conversation on that towards the end, but let's talk about it now. I also heard that one-to-one strategy, right? And there's different thoughts out there. Some agencies, brands do it differently, where you have a whole bunch of keywords in a campaign structure. We follow the same. We do one-to-one, right? And part of the reason we do that, outside of what you both have talked about, is also the ability to then hyper target a keyword to help with looking at the overall organic rank position and how you can improve that organic rank by leveraging PPC, right? And so if you have that control over the keyword budget wise, which you can juice up or down, whatever, but also really try and squeeze it to move it that is really helpful. So we follow exactly that same structure as well, 1-to-1. There's pluses and minuses to both, but I think if you've got a handle on it, it's definitely the right way to do it.
I think where the strategy 1 keyword per campaign does not make sense or would not be like very beneficial is if you have a very diverse catalog with like 500,000 SKUs, and then you need to like launch, because a few, maybe 10, 20 different search terms are just hyper relevant and they are applicable to that specific product, and all the catalog is very like diverse and different, like in terms of like what the customer search intent is. Then I think in that way you need to like maybe leave more keywords, and because we don't want also to just spam clicks and like utilize a lot of budget, because some brands, of course, they have like these budget limitations. You need to like also put up with that. So I think that's where maybe one caveat would be just like if you have a diverse catalog and you want to launch all these products at once. Although I would be like against doing this and the strategy, I think a better approach is prioritizing your products by the demand, by the how listing is ready for conversions. So if you have just a sub-optimized listing with not enticing content, maybe it's better to consider just avoiding that product and not like launching that at the very beginning and just launching it later on once you like exhausted the demand for these like top selling products. But yeah, I think that would
Context,
be
I think, is
Yeah.
context.
I agree. So for clarification, like this strategy is one like specifically for launch, again, to your point, like super targeted, super aggressive, high budget controls. But I would 100% agree personally, and I have some great friends who do it, but like single keyword campaign for like every single thing across the board, like I think you nailed it on the head. Exactly why we wouldn't do that is because of it actually gives you less budget control. So an example is like, say the brand has, let's go super limited. Like say you had a $50 budget, $50 a day budget, but you had 100 keywords you want to test. Like you're limited to $1 per campaign, which still puts you at $100, and that creates issues. And so like you want to test more, but you can't. So perfect illustration of like, pros and cons to everything. Just figure out what works in what scenario, really.
Yeah, what scenario, what context? Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. Good. Okay. Again, any questions anybody has, please drop them in here. We will answer them, and we'll also save it for the Q&A at the end. Nogus, let's hand over to you and let's go through what you want to teach us on today.
Yes, just maybe great. Okay, so what I'll be covering in this webinar is how we can scale Amazon PPC with using data-driven approach strategically. What I'll go over and walk through is how to leverage search term impression share data and then combine this with a search query performance report for maximum growth, because I haven't seen anyone like, I know that people are talking about ACoS optimization, how to look at your conversion rate and then figure out what your bits should be like. But then no one is really talking or touching on this very crucial and important report, which I think gives you a lot of insights into your category performance, which is search term impression share. So let's just get started. So first we'll start with understanding what are the common PPC scaling pitfalls that beginners fall to. And then we're gonna discuss the key metrics for data-driven growth. We're also gonna use and download a search term impression share. I'm gonna show you how to analyze and sort this data correctly so we can gather valuable insights. Then we're gonna do a deep dive into the search query performance report. I'm gonna walk you through that, how you need to analyze and sort the data in the correct format. And then we'll just end this up with finish off with some actionable scaling tips for you that you can take out of the data you gathered. So first things first, probably there are a few reasons why your PPC scaling fails without having a holistic and data-driven approach. So first, is you may be wasting budget on underperforming keywords. So for example, you may see that the budget is flowing to these keywords that are not actually contributing to your organic growth, which is the entire objective of running PPC advertising, is to help us rank on the page end slowly, because when you first launch your products, you will have a high percentage of orders from PPC, direct from PPC. So we want to slowly tip the scales and get more organic sales, and strike the balance between the sales that are coming from our ads and the organic search, which is 70-30% approximately. The second reason is heavy reliance on PPC, but that doesn't fuel organic growth. So if you're only looking at PPC and just analyzing what is our ACoS for that particular keyword, you are missing out on other criteria that Amazon algorithm is looking at to determine where to position your products on the page. And then, a lot of people underestimate high ACoS keywords. I think that's a very, big mistake, because if you're just looking at high ACoS keywords and you are shutting them down or, cutting down bits on those keywords, you may be losing on incremental sales, because what you might realize if you look at the data and dig deeper is that for those high ACoS keywords, the conversion rate may be very, you might have a conversion rate advantage compared to your category. So that's, one of the signals when we know that we should not solely rely on ACoS and just make our, and judge the performance by that, but we need to also consider secondary metrics. And then the last one, which is, I think, the most important, a lot of people say, you have low ACoS for this keyword. Okay, increase bids so you can, improve your exposure, improve visibility, and start showing up higher on the search, so you can then divert more traffic to your product listing. But if you don't see these insights, if you don't know and lack insights into market share, how it's stacking up against you, then you are flying blind by vanity metrics. So this is the model. We're gonna start with data collection, then we're gonna move to analysis, action, and then final optimization. And this will eventually, this whole model, once you implement it, is gonna lead to growth for the brand. So what we're gonna do, as I prefaced before, is focus today on search term impression share and search query performance, conversion rate comparison between other category players. So yeah, what's a search term impression share? So this is high level overview. It's a % of impressions that your ads received versus total available impressions. So let's just imagine such a scenario that people are searching for, kitchen spatula 10,000 times, and the ads are showing in different ad positions, right? So your ad might show up in a few different ad positions across the page. So not only on top of search, but maybe rest of search or product pages. But basically, if people are searching this keyword and the ad was seen 10,000 times, while your ad appeared only for 1,000 times, then your impression share would be only 10%, because you're occupying or taking up only 10% of all the available impressions. So your ads might not appear or appear depending on a lot of factors. One of them is bid, but then there is also relevancy metrics that Amazon is considering. So what we're gonna do is just get into the nitty-gritty of this probably topic, and how we need to and cover how we need to download the data, gather these reports, so then we can make an informed decision for our PPC campaigns. So what we're gonna do is go to Ad Console, then click on Measurement and Reporting, check, and then click on Sponsor Ads Report, select the search term impression share report, and also I would recommend you to look at the last 30 days, because this will give you a big data sample that you can rely on to make data-driven decisions. The next step is open up the report. So once you download the report, you want to open it up in a CSV format. And then the next step will be you will have to filter the data to top performing keywords by the highest conversion rate. So you will have to find a column that is called 14-day conversion rate, and then you want to filter the data to descending order. Now, another step will be that you need to identify keywords that are actually moving a lot of sales and they are, driving top line revenue. So what you want to do is identify keywords with high conversion rate, but where the search term impression share is maybe less than 30-40%. So you're only taking up 30-40% of all the eligible impressions that were captured on the search page or in the product pages, another place where your ads could appear, or throughout the rest of search as well, which is one more placement where your ads may be served by Amazon. So what you do then, once you've sorted this data, the step 4 is to filter orders to greater than 2, because remember, we may have some keywords where we only got 1 or 2 orders, but that doesn't actually imply that we are relevant for that keyword, because this might be just a random occurrence. And what you'll notice is that we may have converted for that keyword well, but since there's not many orders, it might be just accidental. So to avoid this, looking at these keywords where there's a lack of significant data, we want to only filter out to keywords that have orders that greater than 2, so 3 and above. What we're gonna do then is layer in another report, which is search query performance report. So this report shows you market level conversion rate, click-through rate, and ASIN performance. So I want to make this call out that you will not be able to see this metric unless you stitch the columns the right way and then calculate these metrics by the data that is available inside the report. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. So what you want to do is download the report. So maybe I'm going to just walk you through really quickly how you need to gather this data. So you go to Amazon Seller Central, you click on the drop-down menu, you go to brand analytics, you select search query performance, and then what you can do is select the brand that you're managing or working on, select the date range. I would suggest you to look at the last month, because this will again have a higher, bigger, wider data pool that you can dig into and unveil insights. And then you want to select the most recent month. So if it's April, then we would select March, and then apply these parameters, and then just click on generate download. You will download this report to your computer, open it up. And one more thing I want to also point out is that if you have a diverse catalog, keep in mind that all these search terms that your brand, Amazon is giving you, will apply to all the products that you have within your catalog. So if you want to really narrow down this list of keywords, what you can do is punch the ASIN for a particular ASIN, and instead of looking at the brand view, which combines and aggregates all the data that is applicable across all products, what you can do instead is only narrow down to a specific ASIN, and then you'll see search terms that are the most relevant ones for that particular product. Okay, so once you gather this report, once you generate it, you open up in a CSV or Excel, and then what you want to do is, actually, I will not be able to run the video. I see the video I've taken, but I'm going to just very quickly go over this and explain how you need to stitch all these columns along. So what you want to do is insert 2 different columns inside this report, and you want to call them, one will be market conversion rate, and another one will be brand conversion. I see there's a mistake here. So basically what you want to do is identify search terms where market conversion rate is higher than, brand conversion rate is higher than market conversion. So you have a competitive advantage on those search terms because you are converting higher than your competitors, on average, of course. And then what you do, you add 2 new columns, which I already mentioned, to the SQP report. So market conversion rate will be total purchase count. You want to find these columns divided by total click count. That's how you figure out and find out what is the market conversion rate. Another metric is brand conversion rate. So you divide brand purchases by brand clicks, and that's how you also calculate that metric. Next thing up will be using this Excel formula to filter out search terms with brand conversion rate that is higher than market conversion rate. So what you do is you type in this formula: if brand conversion is higher than market conversion rate, comma, and true value. This will either return the value false or true, depending on the data. Because if you are compromised in the conversion rate, then of course you are going to see that this will return a false formula. But if you are competing better and you are more competitive by the conversion rate, this will return true value. So now what you can do, and also what you need to do, is change this from brand conversion rate by selecting a column that where that metric accrues. So you want to basically change these metrics. And the fourth step is only selecting rows that return true value to focus on high potential search terms. So what you will see is then you will see search terms where we have a conversion advantage. One more thing you can do is filtering out search terms that don't have a lot of search volume. So what you could do is just narrow down this list by removing search terms that have less than 100 search query volume. So you also can apply this additional filter to look at the most impactful keywords. And then the fifth step is to cross-reference keywords that have the conversion advantage with low search term impression shares search terms. So what you're gonna do is go back to your search term impression share report, and you will also take a look at the ones that are where you are only maybe winning 30-40% of the impression share. It may be only 10-20%. So there's definitely room for improvement and from the growth perspective. And this will show you or indicate what are the scaling gold mines. So these are basically the keywords that you want to focus on, and maybe consider increasing bids or applying bid modifiers on top of search to drive additional traffic. Because that if I just what is probably the situation is that you are not ranking well enough because you are not just driving enough traffic to the product listing to result in more additional sales. So that's the only probably variable you need to change: increasing bids to get more exposure on the page, get more visibility, and then attract more buyers to your product listing. And a percent of those clicks of that additional traffic will eventually turn into more conversions for you. Yeah, so maybe I'll just split this up. I thought I will split this up into 3 different buckets in terms of where you fall by the search term impression share. So just to give you a benchmark, so you can have this as a reference point, I made these 3 buckets where you might have on some search terms a higher search term impression share, and on other ones maybe it's only below 40%. So if it's below 40%, then this implies significant growth opportunity. So you're only capturing 4 impressions out of every 10 available impressions. So now here would be a great action plan is to focus if the search term already performs well, because you might have a higher conversion rate than your category and low ACoS. So what you want to do is increase bids, bump up the budget, because also what may happen is that it's not like this metric is influenced not only by your bids, but maybe your budget is limited, so you're not able to drive more clicks, drive more traffic onto your product listing. If it's medium, this still implies a lot of you have moderate exposure, but you may earn more exposure if you focus on these search terms a little bit more. So maybe what you can do is segment certain keywords into a distinct single keyword per campaign type of structure, so you can only divert the budget towards that campaign, and you can select which keywords the budget is going to flow to. And then high search term impression share. This signifies that you are well covered on the page, so you're kind of close to maxing out your impression share. At this point, I think you should just focus on improving efficiency, looking at where you can, maybe save more money, and just looking at your ACoS and also conversion rate rather than scaling. But of course, you want to maintain this ranking organic growth that you already built, and to not, drop in the rankings and then start losing this impression market share percentage. A few caveats to consider. So this metric highly varies by match type. So what you want to do is focus on exact match type for precise benchmark and scaling. What you'll notice is that if you look at the data or look at some phrase or broad match types, keep in mind that these keywords may show you for additional search terms that are not exactly related to the keyword you are targeting. So the data is not 100% accurate and reliable, and it might be skewed by some other search terms that sneak into the data, right? So that's why you want to be very precise here and specific by only, honing in onto match type, exact match type. And then the second caveat is that low search term impression share may be caused due to campaigns running out of budget. So if you see that on a daily basis, you're running out of budget, and you are not acting onto these signals that Amazon is giving you, then your growth will be compromised. So if you're converting for a high conversion rate keyword, you should not limit the budget. So consider in that case, if you see that the budgets are capping out on a regular basis, what you want to do is consider increasing the budget again, because this will allow you to improve exposure and get more traffic coming to your listing. And then the bottom line, maybe for people who are watching this webinar, just to give them a direction. If you see that the search term is impression share is lower than 30%, there's a lot of room for growth and scale from the impression coverage standpoint. So assuming if your CTR is decent, I would say a good benchmark would be around 0.3%. Which largely depends, of course, on the category, but you can increase keyword bids to 1 more impressions. That's another tip for you. And yeah, so this is the scaling plan. So a few actions that you can implement here to act and pull a trigger on this data. So what you can do is increase bids on high conversion, low search term impression share search terms. Consider budget reallocation to these high opportunity terms. So if you see that all the keywords are scattered around, right, and they're crammed into a single keyword, into a single campaign, what you can do is segment these keywords by a campaign, by a separate campaign, where you gain more control and you can scale budgets more predictably, because all the budget is only flowing to that particular search term that you are targeting in that campaign. So just keep in mind that if we have 20, 30, 50, or even more keywords, then the budget is spread out across too thinly, and this will not allow you to gain control and decide where the budget goes, because all of these keywords are taking up your budget. You don't really have the willpower over where budget goes and where Amazon is going to distribute your budget capabilities here. And yeah, so that's another the second action you can do. The first one is very simple, increasing based on high conversion rate if you can maintain your performance. And then also what you want to do during this time is monitor any shifts in these 2 metrics, which I've already covered, and how they're changing and fluctuating over time. So what you can do is look at the weekly, monthly data, and you just compare how you are changing. What are you dropping up? Are you actually going up in these percentages compared to the category? So you want to monitor this week over week, ideally, and then you want to track organic rank in parallel inside the Helium 10 keyword tracker. So Helium 10 provides you this functionality. So what you can do is input the keyword into the tool, and then you can start tracking to gauge the impact of bids increase or whatever action, any of these actions that you've taken on the account, just to gauge the impact of how it has impacted your organic position. So we are identifying keywords first that meet this criteria. We are then increasing bids. We are monitoring, and based on the data that we gather and measure, we want to also adjust and make some optimizations here. And key takeaways, so focus on data-driven bid increases. Don't, make aggressive adjustments to, blow out the budget and just splash it, in all the different places. Always cross-check market performance and then use combine these two reports together, which is search query performance data and then search term impression share data, to make data-driven and informed decisions for your Amazon ads strategy. Yeah, and this is just a shameless plug. Yeah, guys, if you want to talk brand strategy, you can just book a call by scanning the QR code below, and yeah, we'll talk about how we can help.
Awesome. Yeah, that was solid. No, just thank you so much. Feel free to, if there's a link there outside of the QR code, post it in the chat there so people can connect with you. Elizabeth, do the same for sure, so that people have a chance to reach out to you. I think, no, just if you have that video as well, that might be good. I know you didn't show it, but just if you have the link to that, just post that in the chat so people can watch that. But yeah, I mean, I 100% agree with a lot of that strategy you talked about. At ZonGuru, we focus a lot on the organic rank and how you can move that for your products. And obviously PPC is a big lever for that, right? And so we always say, not every sale on Amazon is a good sale. And, that could be because it's a PPC sale and your customer acquisition cost is out of whack or your profit is not there. But also the important piece is how does that sale on PPC impact your organic rank, right? And so one of the metrics that we track in our reporting as well is category rank versus your PPC conversion rank, right? And trying to, as much as you can, make sure that the conversion in those campaigns is higher than your category rank, right? So that, as your conversion happens, it's juicing the algorithm and you're going to get better rank. So we definitely track that. A lot of the stuff that you put in there manually out of search query performance, we do, within our reporting. And then the other thing that we do, which you pointed to, is track organic rank over time, right? So we have, individual keyword tracking capabilities, but we also roll that up into our reporting. So you can see over time, am I increasing for my specific products? Am I increasing my number of keywords in the top 10 or top 50 positions and the search volume over time? Because ultimately, if you can move that sale from, a PPC sale to an organic sale over time within percentages, that's going to really help your business grow profitably, but also get that halo effect going and the flywheel and the rank. So totally agree with a lot of the stuff that you covered there, which is pretty awesome. Yeah.
One more thing I wanted to throw out, and just keep in mind, guys, that you may have, of course, you'll see some, depending on how established and the brand is of Amazon, you may see that there are some brand search terms that pop up in the data set. So what you want to do is exclude these brand search terms, because what you may decide then to do unconsciously is focus on these branded search terms, because you'll see that we are not well positioned on the page. Maybe our search term impression share is probably maybe 50-60%. So let's push harder on PPC to increase these percentages. But what you may end up doing is cannibalizing your sales, because these conversions would have happened anyway, even if you didn't increase the biz or raised budget. So just keep in mind that you don't want to be cannibalizing sales and blowing out your budget on in places where it's not supposed to go. Because Amazon will show you anyway. We've seen a lot of times that even if you don't target your own branded search terms, they will show you higher on the page, like in the top of search, because they know that it's super relevant and the search intent of the customer is to exactly buy these brands' products, and they don't want to consider other options.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have a take on this, but one pretty cool thing that we do on PPC is we have the ability to create custom bidding engine rules based on organic rank. So because we track organic rank position, we can create a bidding rule out of that and say, hey, if organic rank is in these positions, then bid lower, right? So that you're not cannibalizing, your organic sales by PPC within reason, right? So that is a really interesting thing that we do, which has a lot of success on helping with profitability around keywords. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think dynamic rules like that are very helpful because the difficulty is in terms of cannibalization, like, is it cannibalization? Maybe, maybe not. Like,
Exactly.
if you need to have position one and add position one, like add position one helps you maintain rank position one. And if you are showing lower on the page with your ads and then you slip down out of position, like that's a very real scenario. And some keywords are way more sensitive than others. Some accounts are way more sensitive than others. I know we got on to a new account. We always try and learn from the existing team or whatever. And basically the feedback we got is like, hey, even just a very marginal increase in this account, like huge ramifications of that, or even a very marginal decrease. So thankfully we have like similar bidding systems where we can be very, very sensitive with what we need to be. And so we've done that, like set incremental bidding rules. It's like even a couple cents makes a huge difference versus, 10 to 15 is like wildly aggressive in this account, go figure. So I think that's a fantastic call out of like you said, within reason, right? And those kind of things, cannibalization can be quite difficult to manage at scale, to be honest, for most brands.
Yeah, and I think that's also why organic rank, to both your guys' point, is so important to track, right? Because brands will come to us and the theory is like, okay, great. Well, like, if we're organically ranked in these positions, bid lower, and the theory is great, we're going to save money on that. It's going to cannibalize less. But what they see over time sometimes is like, hey, well, that's actually having a big impact on your organic rank, and actually you're losing. There's opportunity being lost, right? And so you've got to manage that, which to your point, it can be more sensitive in some cases than others. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Good.
That's
Okay.
Probably
Go ahead.
Just wanted to add some thoughts. That's why you should probably lean on a safer, into a safer zone by making gradual adjustments and not doing like aggressive bid decreases, because that could cause a lot of it may have a lot of implications on your organic growth and organic position for keywords that are super important for you to maintain the exposure on. And yeah, I would say that just follow a very incremental methodology where you are making small adjustments, small tweaks in your bids. And then, of course, if you have placement bid adjustments, you need to, I think, apply the same philosophy here. Because if you move too many levers, this may cause you to bleed or lose your market share percentage, or just make your sales move to a slump. So you want to avoid that as much as possible. Just be cautious. Maybe even consider like changing your bid like cadence on which you are optimizing, and like reviewing your changes to see like how the data is changing 2-3 days. I know that it's kind of difficult to measure that, although Amazon is giving you access to AMC, Amazon Marketing Stream, so you can also employ that data and utilize it to get an overall look of the customer journey and factor in the attribution window as well, which is so important.
I want to just highlight asterisks and underline one thing that you just said was you were saying like incremental and testing slowly. I don't hear it as much these days, but I have heard this advice on some forums and in some groups where someone's like, oh, you think there's cannibalization? Test pausing it. And I'm like, that's way too aggressive. That's like an all or nothing strategy. It's like really with all of these, it's a dial. So I highly 100% agree with what you're saying. It's like, it's a very strategic test because it is a test, right? And it's hard to know where that line is if you're just like off and on. And I've honestly seen some like very detrimental results of like pausing things for too long. They're like legacy campaigns and all that kind of craziness.
Totally.
Yeah.
Maybe, John, I was just going to ask you, maybe I could give a quick rundown of of how to import these formulas very quick, and then we can go straight to the Q&A question section.
Well, yeah, I want to jump on and cover a couple points. I don't think we have. Do you guys have a hard stop, Elizabeth?
I don't have a hard stop.
Okay, yeah, I can run like 10 minutes, a little bit longer, just because.
Yeah, 10 minutes is fine.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to maybe that's a follow-up. If anybody wants that, we can post it and we can send it on. But I want to jump into a couple of things I want to cover. And
Cool.
just to finish on what you guys were saying is like brand owners out there, like, yeah, there's got to be a certain level of patience, right, in everything that's been done in PPC and organic.
Unfortunately,
and I think, yeah, and as long as we're being like pretty transparent on like, you know, and objective about like where this needle is moving over time, you know, the patience should be there. But yeah, if you don't have the patience, then this game is not for you.
Yeah, Amazon algorithm is not an isolated component. Like there are so many moving parts to that. Like and you need to factor in each to really make an informed decision, you know, and benefit your business as, you know, the best way you can.
100%. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to jump in and just, you know, we just got a couple minutes. I'll fly through this. It's really more of a concept that I want to get across. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, it was a little bit of a, maybe it's a soapbox moment where I just want to jump on and just reflect on a conversation that comes up often. And you know, Elizabeth and they'll just tell me if you hear the same. But, you know, clients will constantly say, hey, you know, don't worry about anything else, just manage to tacos, right? Like tacos is the goal, manage to that. And we ask questions like, hey, well, what's your COGS, right? We need to know your COGS. Now, you don't need to know that, just manage your tacos, right? And it gets extremely frustrating for our teams because that is one, you know, single metric. And if you're smart about employing an agency or bringing on an agency as part of your team, you know, the more you can give them insight into your business and have a collective understanding of the strategy and approach, instead of just that one tactic, you know, you have a much better chance of allowing your team to be more proactive and ahead of the game and helping you grow, rather than being the tail that wags the dog, right? And being a much more reactive team. So I just want to hop on that and just say, you know, when those questions come up, and they will come up every time in your business or in any partner that you're working with, make sure you give them more than just you know, open the kimono, give them the insights they need, because tacos is just simply not enough, right? And so you know, I think the important thing is like tacos is a single metric, but if you're working with the right partners, they're going to ask you, well, you know, are you focusing, what's your business objective? Are you focusing on revenue? Is it profit? Are you focusing on rank? Is it market share? Is it all of them? You know, where is your business in this life cycle? And that's such a critical piece to understanding how to optimize. And I have an example here which I can show you in how this can be approached. So let me just show you. I think the other note I wanted to make here is like tacos, why it isn't enough is that it's a lagging metric of this idea of being reactive, right? It's like it's reflecting advertising over time. But if you want this team to be proactive, you've got to really focus on you know, what's your intent, your brand maturity, your cash flow constraints. Are there cash flow constraints, right? The growth strategy, the business objectives, it's so much more important. And so this is an example here, you know, right here, I have a growth focused approach for a brand, and then a profit focused. And you can see the tacos there at the end of the day is the same, right? But one in this scenario, an ACOS is much, even though it's much lower, you know, your contribution margin is going to be 55% on this business, right? Which is your ultimate, you know, profit metric. Whereas on the other side, you've got to, you know, this is the profit focus. It's even a higher ACOS there, same tacos, and you're ending up with a 60% contribution margin, right? So in both scenarios, just focusing on that, you can end up with more profit or less. And it's really important to understand that you know, that PPC spend has much more of an impact than just you know, whether you're going to grow sales on PPC or not. And one of the important points on that I just want to say is like, and I think both of you have mentioned this, is you know, PPC obviously has a major impact on the PPC sales, but it has an impact on the organic sales over time and your organic rank, right? And so how aggressive or how smart you are around your PPC can obviously massively impact your organic sales and the percentage of PPC to organic sales, which then has a massive impact on your profit. So, you know, it's just a really important piece to make sure that you, you know, go beyond just a tacos or ACOS and really give an insight on, you know, what, you know, where are you with this business? If you're trying to grow it, are you running at break even or not break even? You know, what's your contribution margin, and allow the team to manage to that so that they implement the right strategy. And to the point is like, once we know what that is, then we can test and optimize and you know, go a little bit higher and then see what the impact is on the business over time, or go a little bit lower and see what that impact is, right? So it's a constantly moving needle that you need to see by putting this one lever. What is the impact on the overall business? And so I think the last thing I'll just skip this for now. I think there's a point that Tuck has as a result, not a strategy, and I think that's really important for brands to understand. And then what is the type of context to share? So this is just really a piece to say, hey, if you have a team, what should you share with them? These are the kind of things you should share, which is like, what's your business goal, growth, profit, rank, market share, are critical pieces. What's the margin structure by product? I think that is really important. Upcoming launches, seasonality, cash constraints, that's a critical piece. Your propensity to spend, I think, is really important. Priority SKUs, target customers, and then your version of success over the next 3 to 6 months. So these are questions that absolutely need to be understood fully upfront, so that the teams that work on the business can approach it from like a curiosity and an understanding of almost being the business owner, putting themselves in your shoes, right? Which is the best type of person that you want working on your business. So that's it. I just wanted to make sure that I covered that in case there's any, conversations or challenges that are happening around brand owners and teams that work with them. And I think the last thing I wanted to say there is, don't forget with Zonguru, if you are looking at us, we have a lot of AI forward technology, especially around listings and being Rufus optimized. We're the first in the space to do that. Image AI analysis, understanding how the algorithm is reading your images, what you need to be putting both in the meta tagging, as well as in the front end of your images, and what does it read in that image. We give a lot of guidance around that. Keyword AI generator, that is one of our strengths, and the context and the relevancy around your keywords, pulling it from primary data like search query performance report, brand analytics, etc. And then this PPC AI transparent bidding engine, which is really giving you the insight into not this black box AI technology, but what is happening in the AI, and then be able to learn from it and also set your own customized rules. So these are like some really cool, interesting technology pieces that we have both for brands and for agencies that you can use. If you want to get hold of us, you can get this growth audit report run, which is again like just showing you what is the impact of your index keywords over time, and how do you move those into the buyer zone and get more revenue from the organic by using things like PPC and other strategies that we have. So we can run that for you for free. If you want to get that and you qualify, you can go to zonguru.link/growth-audit or growth audit. If you're a brand and you want a percentage off, go to zonguru.link20. I'll put this in the chat. And then the last one is, if you're an agency, you can contact us there and we can connect and help you on that front. So that's it. So thanks again to this team here for jumping on and sharing your thoughts and ideas. I know there are a few questions here, which someone said, "Can I ask a question?" But didn't. Oh no, there you did. Maria asked the question. So let's take Maria's question here for example, because I know she asked politely.
Yeah, sorry, my camera is like glitching. I didn't intentionally turn it off.
Yeah. All good. So let's see this question here. So what does it say? If we get more clicks on any adjustments placed, like product page or rest of research, and we cannot give anything to adjustments, so how can we? I'm not really sure I'm following the question. Anybody else follow that? Might come back to that one.
Yeah, maybe I can jump in and just give my take. So when you are adjusting bids, keep in mind that you are effectively increasing your CPCs, like by a certain amount, right? So when you apply a bid modifier, let's say on top of search of 30%, and your base bid is set at $1, your effective CPC could go up to $1.30. Is it going to happen every single time? No, but that's the one of the options, and depending on a lot of factors that the Amazon algorithm is looking at. They're obviously analyzing the customer behavior and how likely you are to convert those customers. They may raise your bids depending on this probability that the click will convert into a sale. So just keep in mind that. And the way you can, I think, achieve or maintain the client's profit target is if you are increasing bids, setting bid modifiers on a particular placement. So when you apply this action, make sure that you lower the base bid, because you want to be spending less per click on other placements that are not performing very well, and maybe they're not adding up to your profit margin goals.
Great. And I think I know we've run a little bit long and we've had some good conversation going back and forth, but we probably have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions in case either you, Elizabeth, or Nogus, you see one that pops out for you here.
I can add a layer maybe. Yeah, I understand if we have not given any percentage adjustment. Yeah, I would say as far as placements go, there is only so much you can control. So when placements originally came out, there was a strategy, honestly, a very logical strategy of, hey, let's set the bids as low as we can, 10 cents, 15 cents, and like a 900% top of search strategy, because the goal there is I want only top of search to serve. And to be honest, if you do that, very high percentages, very low bids, you will oftentimes force that, most impressions to serve there. However, the thing that you will always sacrifice, and we validated this with our accounts, I have other friends in the space, it is a factor that if you are doing a low bid and a high top of search to try and force a placement, you are sacrificing impressions to have only that placement serve. It's just the name of the game. And that, because getting a lot of sales velocity is very important when it comes to ranking strategies, that only a strategy of low bid, high top of search for a ranking campaign is not effective. You don't get enough impressions. You don't get enough traffic to make it work. I'm not saying it's not a fantastic supplement campaign. I'm not saying it's not a very interesting campaign to have in your strategy bucket. I'm just saying if you're only reliant on that because you're trying to force it, you're going to hurt yourself in the long run. I've audited several accounts where they're like, we can't rank. And we have really good ACoS. And I go in and I'm like, low bid, high top of search. That's all you're using. Maybe switch that up. So I view placements as I can control the things I can't, and I will release the things I can't, or control the things I can and release what I can. And so I would say I would focus more on bid optimization and allow placements to sort of be your supplement to enhance. And then again, have those great supplemental campaign strategies in there. I would say just be very cautious of viewing placements and getting so, trust me, I have gone down the rabbit hole. It is fascinating. But sometimes if that's where all your focus is, you're not seeing the forest for the trees, and you're so focused on must get all placements to trigger through this one, item, that you end up hurting, like you lose sight of the true objective, which is growing profitable sales. So I would just be cautious of that if, the focus is causing you to lose sight of that.
I would totally agree. I think you need to be very thoughtful and cautious, as Elizabeth pointed out, with the placement adjustments. So if you decide to use them, and I think that's a great way, don't get me wrong, to, and we are using this, testing this, for our clients' campaigns. Just use a small, maybe bid modifier that is logical. Don't try to force the traffic to be concentrated on any type of placement by setting aggressive bid adjustments like 500% or 900%. And you have that option, but I would not suggest doing that, because Amazon is evaluating how you are performing on all of these different placements. And as Elizabeth told you, you may sacrifice a lot of valuable traffic, and then you are missing out on potentially growing your market share, which is the whole objective of being in the business and running your Amazon brand, is to be constantly growing, and exhausting the demand as much as possible, while still maintaining your, acquisition costs within the reason.
Good. Thank you, guys. Yeah, that's awesome. I know we're out of time. There will be a follow-up of this presentation to everyone who's live and registered. So we'll send that over to you. and maybe a little bit more additional data and links. We can do that too if you guys want to send over. So one last thing just to end with, and literally like one sentence or one thought from both of you, and I'll add myself as well, in terms of your top piece of advice for the rest of 2025 as it relates to scaling your Amazon business. Anyone want to go first? Elizabeth, Nogus?
Yeah, I think so. Okay,
go for it.
I'll let Elizabeth.
No, please. I need to collect my thoughts.
Okay. I thought just the same idea. All right. So I think content is a big lever to pull moving onwards in 2025. So not only on the listing side, optimizing your listing to have a phenomenal A+ content, beautiful images that speak to your customer biggest desires and evoke an emotional connection, and having a copy that aligns with your target audience, as well as just covering your listing from all these aspects that drive the needle, that move the needle and impact your conversion rate. So things like bullet points, product title, images, videos that you can upload to the image gallery, brand story, A+ content, just having a top-notch all-around a beautiful listing that aligns with your target avatar, I think is a big needle mover. And then, it's not only doing content on the listing side, but also implementing and incorporating these creatives and maybe branching out to additional campaign types such as sponsor brands, sponsor video, and not just solely relying on sponsor products, because eventually you will dry up the whole demand. And yeah, I think so. Having a good kind of team who can produce these creatives for you, images and videos, and then implementing and testing these creatives and your thesis by running campaigns such as sponsored brand, sponsored brand video, and sponsored brand headline ads, I think would definitely is going to be more important. And it's been important ever since Amazon rolled out these campaigns. But I think brands that value not only just looking and obsessing over their profit margins, but then these adjustments to the content.
Awesome. Elizabeth?
Absolutely. I would say Amazon is no longer a hospitable place for lazy sellers. I don't think it ever really was, but you could get away with it. Like, you could get away with it a couple years ago. You could get away with not really knowing what your margins were. You could get away with being like, oh crap, I haven't paid attention to logistics and I ran out of stock for a little bit. The game was not as cutthroat as it is today. I would say, and it's becoming more sophisticated. Larger brands are recognizing the distribution powers of Amazon, and they are jumping on the bandwagon. And with that comes way larger budgets, comes way more brand recognition, comes a lot more things that you have to compete against now. And the other thing that I would say for smaller, scrappy sellers, there's a silver lining that I do not see as many people taking advantage as they could. The fact of the matter is, although big brands come with big names, they come with big budgets, and they come with, maybe a little bit, they have the ability to hold their breath for a really long time sometimes, meaning they can throw $20,000 at it for a month or two and say, hey, let's see what pops out on the other end in terms of ROAS, and we'll adjust from there. Not all of them do it, but that is a conversation I've had multiple times. It's like, oh, okay. It's kind of nice to be able to do that sometimes. But the thing that they do not do is they do not move quickly. They might have really good logistic change. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth to get a budget increase. A lot of you smaller sellers are thinking like, really? It takes that long. Like, we submitted budget requests for increases. There is an immense potential in some of our accounts, and yet they have to okay the budget because they have annualized budgets. There's only so much. So they're hamstrung there in terms of their ad strategy. Sometimes, like Nojas was saying, like, you can take advantage of sponsored brand ads. A lot of them have to like okay the creatives because it has to align with their brand story. So there is a lot of ways in which they move much slower, and forget about it when it comes to listing creative innovations. Like, if you are scrappy and you use all of that momentum to your advantage, you can absolutely crush these big brands. But again, as I said in my presentation, if you want the results, you have to put in the effort. To put in that amount of effort, especially at scale, is not, I'm not going to say it's easy. It's simple. It's look at the numbers, look at where you're behind, conversion rates. How do I fix that? Main image. Okay, what is my price point? Can I get better review? Like, we all know that everyone wants the silver hack, the silver bullet. What's the campaign? I mean, I just shared with you a new launch strategy, right? That strategy works. It's not a silver bullet. It doesn't fix a crappy listing. It doesn't fix product market alignment. It's a tactic, but it's all of the things that we forget. Refreshing our main image. Listings are not a one and done. SEO is not a one and done. Advertising is not a one and done. You don't check it once a week. At least we don't. We check it daily. But that requires, again, it's an immense amount of effort. So there's a couple ways to get that effort on your team. One is just to absolutely head down, trudge through it as a seller. But as you scale, like, you have the ability to bring on team members, to bring on agencies who are well versed in their area of expertise and have the ability to like execute that expertise at rapid breakneck speed on your behalf. So I would say, bad news, you cannot be lazy and win on Amazon anymore. The good news is, if you're willing to put in the effort, you can outsmart, outwit, outmaneuver even the larger brands that are coming in that you feel like there's no way to compete on. There absolutely is, but you have to play the game and you can't play it at their speed.
Great. Yeah, thank you guys. That's good advice. I think the last thing I'd throw in there is from our side, you know, obviously as a technology, first and foremost, we are very focused on, you know, how to leverage AI in our space specifically. And I would say, you know, in the agentic models that we're building, which can rapidly improve the efficiency and the output of certain workflows. Things to really think about as brand owners is, one, having a good documentation and outline of your brand strategy, documentation, business objectives, and tonality, etc. I think those are really important things that can be fantastic inputs into a lot of new technology that we're creating. So giving agents a really good understanding of a brand is so critical. And then the second thing I would say is, you know, the metadata of images and how AI can read that is going to be critical, not only in, you know, it's not, I mean, that's the land grab that happens in AI right now across everything, is like, you know, how do you historically capture context around images and feed that to AI? That is happening in the Amazon space, and it's going to be really important in how you rank. So look out for some big movements in that area as well, that we are going to be focusing on over the next while. So thank you, and I just appreciate the time. And Elizabeth, you know, we will be sending this out to everyone, and we will obviously send you guys recordings of this, and we'll be posting it to my LinkedIn, and Zon Gurus, and it's also on YouTube as well. So you can catch us all there. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and enjoy the rest of today. And to everyone else out there, thanks a lot, and good luck for the rest of 2025.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you guys for being on, and yeah, wish you a great week.
Okay. Cheers.